Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. That's what normally Craig says, but unfortunately today Craig is not well. It's been a bit of a day of pullouts today because Troopz has got a family thing where he's had to look after his children, so he's had to pull out as well, and he sends his apologies. So we'll have to get him back on the show at the other time, but do not fear. Lee and Harry are here, you know what I mean? So we've got Harry, who, of course, done last week's extra time for us, which I listened to, which was really, really good. So how's things, Harry?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Keeping busy, you know how it is. But
yeah,
all good. All good in the world of Arsenal this week.
Well, yeah, I've got to say, you know, I think that's a good way to go. What we'll do tonight, I've got a couple of things that we're going to talk about. Obviously, because this is coming a bit sharp for me today, so we're going to talk a little bit about the game. And then there's a couple of other things that we're going to talk about as well. So I'm not going to tell you what they are. I'm just going to so you're just going to not prepare for them. You're just going to have to come out with questions from the heart and brain, like, you know. So that's what we're going to do. So yesterday, let's have a look. You know, was everybody a little bit nervous? I'm going to be honest. Going to the game yesterday, Harry. Did you go to the game yesterday? By the way,
I did.
So going to the game yesterday, I felt there was not an arrogance about the Arsenal fans, I think, but there was definitely a lot of confidence floating about that we was going to do well. And I felt that generated in the stadium and obviously like generated on the pitch. So what was your thoughts about the game?
Well, yeah, I think you're completely right, to be honest. I went there expecting us to win the game. I wasn't so sure that we'd win by such a big margin, but I was pretty sure that we'd win the game. I thought we started the game, although we started it really well offensively, I still felt that we looked really, really soft at the back, really soft-centered. And I was saying to my mate who I was standing next to, you know, I just feel like had we played a team with a bit more quality, you know, we could have been punished yesterday. And it shouldn't be taken too much to heart. We shouldn't overreact, but it's something we should be wary of, I think, going into the second leg and for future ties, of course.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a good point. I don't know about you, and this is what worries me about Arsenal, particularly against big teams, that it is just like, well, we're just going to go out and attack them. And there was no real structure to our defensive play from midfield to the defence, if you know what I mean. Like you know, there's the freedom of play going forward, which was fantastic. But I don't know about you, but I noticed that there were times when it breaks down, and it's going to break down every now and then, that their midfield just had acres of space, Harry. And you are right. When we play a team like Madrid and that, if we don't give them the respect that they deserve, I think we could come unstuck.
Yeah, it is a concern, of course. Like I said, I don't want to make too much of it because we did win and we should be pleased with that. And I think as Arsenal fans, we do an awful lot of complaining. So I think we should enjoy European nights like that. But yeah, I think, you know, as well from an attacking sense, you know, a lot of people were talking about how we were getting in amongst them and how mobile our forwards were and stuff. And you know what, interestingly, on the way home, I was talking to my brother and we were discussing the CSKA back three. We were talking about Ignashevich and the two Berezutsky brothers. And we actually looked them up. And, you know, Ignashevich is 38 years old and the two brothers are 35. And I think that explained why they were so immobile, if you like.
Yeah, because I have to say, from my point of view, watching it as well, I felt that we was going to, every time we went forward, we looked like we was going to score. Now, I don't know how we can do that against, we might have just answered the question here, against someone like Moscow. But when we've played other teams, you know, we've not been able to do that. And what the question of just, you know, Arsene Wenger got on my goat a little bit when he turned around the other day after another lacklustre performance against Stoke in the first half. Well, there's this reason for it. There's, we've had a bit of a break. We're not quite here, and we rectified it in the second half. But on this game here, we come out and went for the throat straight away, didn't we? And why can't we do that on a consistent basis? I know we've had a good home record, but we don't seem to really go for the throat. But I really enjoyed the game yesterday, Harry. I've got to say, from the word go, I sat there and it was fantastic to watch the football we was playing. And that's what I want to see with Arsenal all the time, mate. You know, why have we not been able to do that on a regular basis this season?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Because over the years, we've seen Arsenal play this explosive, expansive attacking football, and that's Wenger's trademark. And I'm sure it will be in years to come when we look back. But it seems to have died out a little bit of late, and we don't seem to start games with that explosion that we once did. I think the fact Mkhitaryan's come in has helped that. I think Aubameyang has helped that. I think we've got more attacking prowess. I think playing Wilshere and Xhaka and asking them to sit a little bit deeper obviously gives Aaron Ramsey that extra bit of freedom. And as we saw last night, and we saw a couple of weeks ago in the Premier League as well, Aaron Ramsey, when he's allowed to get forward, he will get into the box and he will score goals. He's a massive asset to this team. And, you know, if the team is picked right, you know, we can make the most of it. Unfortunately, that is going to sometimes leave our centre-halves exposed, because we saw it last night. But you know what? 9 times out of 10, you'll get away with it. If you're scoring 4 goals, then it's all good.
I'll tell you what was a good thing for me yesterday was, you know, Ramsey looked like he could have had about 4 or 5. But just sitting there yesterday, it was I'm going to talk about the atmosphere in a moment. But watching Ozil play yesterday was, you know, I thought it was a joy to watch him yesterday. So, you know, and I think it was for the goal for Lacazette. I know that the Aaron Ramsey goal was taking all the accolades, and rightly so. But where he was, well, I wasn't too far from that. He got the ball, he pinged it into Lacazette. It was a lovely first touch for Lacazette, and then a smash from his left foot. It was just sublime football. And to see that yesterday, it does really, you know, re-energise the juices, you know, about Arsenal. And that's the frustrating thing. I felt this season I haven't been as angry and as frustrated because I've just not seen those sort of things. But when you see them play like that yesterday, as well as it's great, you walk away with a frustration of why can't we play like that all season? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it was a great performance. Just to talk a little bit about Lacazette, because you know, I think he's been a little bit hit and miss this season. He's had a little few criticisms, and maybe rightly so, Harry, if I'll be honest. You know what I mean? Hasn't he? But I thought yesterday, he was outstanding yesterday. Really, like, it's gone under the radar because of the Ozil and Ramsey's performances. But what was your takings on him yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I thought he was involved in everything good that we've done, particularly in the first half. I noticed in the second half he pulled a little bit wider. I don't know if that was tactical or if he just naturally was sort of drifting out there, and he was a bit less effective. But we've got to remember he's been out for a long time. His match fitness isn't going to be 100%. But I thought he looked sharp when he came on the other day as well in the Premier League. Yeah, sharper than he's looked for quite a while. And you know what? Maybe Wenger had a point when he said this injury had affected him, because he certainly looks a lot sharper. We know he can finish. I don't think anyone's ever doubted that. It's just about getting him involved in the game and as much as possible. And we've got 2 brilliant striking options now, which is fantastic.
Exactly, and that's a question that I'm going to ask, because I asked myself this yesterday as well. Is that we've got Southampton on Sunday, and it seems to be like Wenger's sort of saying, "Well, I'm going to rest Lacazette for the next game." Blah blah. But do you think this is a great opportunity to put them both together? It's not the pressure of winning the game, because we're not going to get in the top 4. Or do you feel that we've got to rest Lacazette for Thursday night?
I think had Lacazette not been out for so long, then I would have liked to have seen them play together. I just worry that because he's been out for so long and we're starting to ease him back in, and he is the only striker, because I don't class Danny Welbeck as a striker. He's the only striker available for CSKA Moscow. I just think it's too big a risk to take. But, you know, I'd like to see it maybe later on in the season, you know, last couple of games. Who knows? It all depends. But at the moment, I just think with a big game coming up on Thursday again, you know, it might have come around a little bit too soon for Lacazette. And seeing as he can't, Aubameyang can't play in the Europa League, I maybe wouldn't take the risk. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. We said the same things as well. Like, you know, now, getting back to the atmosphere at the game yesterday, I thought it was fantastic yesterday. Going into the pubs yesterday, they was buzzing. There was a lot more people in the pubs. There seemed to be a bigger crowd yesterday, like, you know. And it was nice, wasn't it, to go into a game where there was a few people about, you know, like there was some queues, you know what I mean? And All the burger van people seemed to be happy because there was a few more pundits having a burger and everything like that. It just seemed yesterday, it was like, I think the last few games have been very flat, Harry, because there's been no one there and everything like, but yesterday there was a buzz about the ground yesterday, and it was that. I know that the fans are staying away at the moment, and we can have a little debate about that in a second. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? How can you say to the board that you're not quite happy with the way things are going? But when you go there yesterday, like last night, everybody seemed to be up for it because there was something on the game as well, and I just felt that helped the atmosphere in the game, in the ground as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The interest now is in the Europa League because realistically, it's the only thing we're going to win, and our season now relies on it. So I think the interest is there. You were right what you said about the queues. I normally get into the stadium a good 15, 20 minutes before kickoff, but yesterday I was running a little bit late, and when I got to the turnstile at about 10 to 8, the queue was unreal. Yeah. It took me, I just about got inside for kickoff. So, there was definitely more people there yesterday. I know there was a little bit of traffic around the ground because that's what I got stuck in, particularly on Hornsey Road. When you come down from there was some temporary traffic lights causing havoc. And so I know that a lot of people got to the stadium a little bit later, but you're spot on. There was a much bigger crowd, much better feel about the place. And I guess that comes from the fact that that's where the interest is now, the Europa League.
Yeah, just talking about Europa League, because we had this chat yesterday as well coming home. With the Europa League, is it bigger than the FA Cup? Now, I'm gonna say why. It's not because if you win the FA Cup, it's fantastic, But if you win the Europa League, it gets you into the Champions League as well. Now, like the FA Cup, they don't do that. They say no, you've got to go through the league position. And it's only 6 games, but the Europa League, you get that reward. So is it better to win the Europa League because of that Champions League spot, or is the FA Cup still hold that, aura that it does?
It's difficult because growing up, the FA Cup, for me, the FA Cup was huge. It was the next best thing after the Premier League. But with the reward of Champions League football, and we know the financial implications that has on a club these days, I think you've got to say the Europa League now, because you can win the FA Cup and that will get you into the Europa League, but you win the Europa League and you're in the Champions League. So I think the reward's bigger. I think in England it's very difficult for us to sometimes dismiss the FA Cup because we know the history of it, the tradition of it, and we understand all that. I think if you look at it from the continent though, then you'd have to say the Europa League is bigger. And the fact that teams like Seville, who won it a few times, I think, in the last few years, take it very, very seriously. I think that says it all.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest. I had no interest in the Europa League this season, but now we're getting into the nitty gritty of it. If we was in the Champions League, say, we would already be out of it now. But we're now still in a European competition, getting into the latter stages, and I have to say that I'm getting more excited about the competition. And I know, it's how can I put it? It's been a bit of a slow burner, but it is nice to, I watched the Liverpool Manchester City game, and a bit jealous. I'm not going to lie that we're not involved with that, but. Nor Tottenham, nor Man United. They've gone out of that competition. There's no European football for them. But here we are, on the crest of getting into a semi-final of a European competition. And I didn't think it would excite me as much as it has, Harry. And watching the game yesterday, I'll get all excited for the semi-final and end up getting knocked out. But I'm trying to be positive here. But it does seem that. I don't feel like I'm the only one, if you know what I mean. I felt like yesterday there was a few of my mates also who have not been interested in the Europa League seem to be getting involved. And it's not that we're glory hunters. It's just been a slow burner, but it is exciting that we're in the latter stages, if you like, of a European competition.
Yeah, completely agree. I think my interest has grown as the tournament's gone on. I think the thing for me is, for example, all those years we were in the Champions League and not getting very far, people were saying to me, why do you want to be in the Champions League? You just get Barcelona, you just get Bayern Munich, and you just get knocked out. For me, playing those teams is what European competition is all about. I love it. I look forward to those games from weeks in advance. The whole experience is fantastic. You want to see the best players. So I think there's two sides to this. The first is, if you're playing great opponents, you're up for it. For example, I wasn't that enthused about the Europa League at the beginning of the season when we went to play Cologne that first night, and the atmosphere was amazing. 20,000 odd Cologne fans came over. I was all of a sudden buzzing for that game because there was that atmosphere. It felt like there was something riding on it. And when we played Milan as well, because we went to the San Siro, and Milan may not be the Milan that they have been in the past, but they're still a huge football club and one of Europe's finest. And so I really enjoyed that tie as well. And now, naturally, because we're progressing into the later stages, even when you do play a CSKA Moscow, who for me, it's not the most exciting opponent, but at the end of the day, it's a quarter-final. And so you're going to have that buzz. And I think that's what's happening now. I think Manchester United fans will probably tell you the same thing from last year. Once they got to the last 8, last 4, things changed and they started to look at it as what it is, which is a European trophy.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I felt yesterday, I felt that we beat Moscow yesterday. But when I've gone into, like the Bayern Munich tie of last season, Barcelona season, it was more out of hope that we was going to win. But I honestly generally felt we was going to win yesterday. And I think there's a bit of belief that we're going to win these sort of games. And I think it's great to have as a fan.
Yeah, it's lovely to have that confidence, isn't it? And not to go there with that doom and gloom feeling that we've had in pretty much all the big games we've had in the last few seasons. I don't know about you, Lee, but whenever we go away to Chelsea or we go away to Liverpool or United or whoever it may be, I'm never confident anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like a kickback to the old days, isn't it? It makes you remember better times, the days when we could go up against the best and get to later stages of European competitions and be in with a real shout.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've got a good chance. I think we've got to defend well over there next week, and I do feel that we've got a good chance. On the downside of the Europa League, and this is one thing that was we was going through it today. I believe if we actually go through against Moscow, that means that every game that we play now to the end of the season will be on a Sunday. There'll be no more Saturday games, because I think we've only got one scheduled at this moment in time, and I think it's Burnley at home.
Yeah,
and we obviously, like all the other games, are sort of scheduled for a Sunday. I believe. So, what do you think about this Sunday football all the time? You enjoy, up for this, or is it like, or do you miss the Saturday? I have to say, I do miss the Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs every now and then. But every Sunday it seems we're playing. If you want to have a few good beers, it means you've got to get up for work with a hangover on a Monday morning, and it ain't too good, Harry, I can tell you. So we're missing out a little bit there. Or does it not bother you? What do you think? What's your consent on that?
It does bother me a little bit, because Saturday it was the perfect excuse to get out of the house for the whole day, wasn't it? 3 o'clock. That's it. Go out at midday and come back in the evening. With a Sunday game, particularly these 1:30, 2 o'clock kickoffs. First of all, I play football on Sunday mornings. So like last Sunday, I literally went to football, finished, stuck my tracksuit on, and went straight to the Emirates. So,
didn't even have a bath.
Didn't even have a bath.
Oh,
didn't even have a bath.
Terrible, that is.
Had to have one when I got home.
Do that,
Don't worry, I'm a centre forward. I don't run much. But yeah, no, I prefer Saturday games. I like to have the variation, to be honest, because your weekends vary that way. You can do some stuff on a Saturday, some on a Sunday. This way, it's like every Sunday is gone, and I don't know. I totally agree with what you said. You want to have a few drinks, and you're going to suffer.
Yeah, you do, and you do so a lot. And I just feel like that. As you say, like you play football on a Sunday. I have the occasional game for the vets or whatever, like and if you're doing that, the whole Sunday just goes, doesn't it, like that, And I do miss me Saturday games, and I just feel like that's one of the drawbacks of the Europa League. It has sort of tarnished it a little bit for me, if I'll be honest. But you know, because every game's on a Sunday. Sometimes, you know, that these silly kickoffs at 12 o'clock and things like that have been, you know, not just made the atmosphere a little bit more, you know, like not deadbeat, but you know what I mean? Like it's
a sleepy atmosphere, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good, you know, and it takes you a little while for everything to click in, like, you know. So, but you know, hey ho, that's how it is. You know what I mean? Now, listen, I've got this a little tweet coming today from my good friends on the Tiny Tours, and I think it's a great question or a great little poll that they've put out today. It says, I'll read it to you, and then we just want to debate it before you actually go a bit about what you're going to say. It says, we have seen lots of fans hoping we don't win the Europa League this year for the fear of Wenger deciding to stay one more year. As a fan, what would you rather? Lift a trophy and Arsene Wenger stays, or win nothing and Arsene Wenger leaves? Now, I've put this poll out. I'm not going to tell you what they put this poll out. And at the moment, it's 59% versus 41%. I'm not going to tell you in what favour.
Yeah.
But what is your feelings? I know what my feelings are, but what are your first?
I think first and foremost, as an Arsenal fan, putting my personal gripes with Arsene Wenger to one side for a minute, I think you have to want us to win the trophy. You know, Arsene Wenger could leave at the end of the season, but there's no guarantee we're going to win anything for the next few years. For me, I've never seen, well, I don't remember Arsenal winning a European trophy. I don't remember it. When was the last time? 94?
94, yeah.
94. I was 4 years old. I don't remember that. I'd be a liar if I said I did.
No, I can't remember it neither, like, if I'll be honest.
So, you know, for me, I want to see Arsenal win a European trophy. I don't really want Wenger to stay. In an ideal world, he'd win it and then walk away. But we don't live in an ideal world. So I guess if I had to pick, I think I'd vote for the win the trophy and Wenger stay. Yeah,
for me, you know, it's all about winning. I'm you know, Arsene Wenger is a manager at this moment in time, and whether I agree with it or not, that's by the by. I'm with you. It is all about winning a trophy, and if that means he stays, then so be it. You know what I mean? Because I want Arsenal to win a trophy. You know, that's a simple. I want to go to Lyon. I want to see Arsenal win trophies. There's nothing better. That's what we're in the game for. You know what I mean? As a fan or a player or whatever. And the actual poll at the moment is saying 59% want Arsenal to win the trophy, but there's 41% of, you know, which is incredible. It's absolutely incredible that is the case scenario. And
I mean, Lee, if we take a step back for a minute and pretend we're not Arsenal fans, because I had this debate with someone yesterday, and he was saying to me, you know, if Arsene Wenger was to win the Europa League this season, and he sat down in a room with Jurgen Klopp, Pochettino, and himself, so the three of them sitting there, and you know, so many of us want him gone, and I want him gone. I'm not saying that I don't. So many of us are aggressive towards him and fed up and want him out of the way. But he will turn around and say to you, if he won the Europa League, you know, I've won 4 trophies in 5 seasons. What's Pochettino won? What's Jurgen Klopp won? Absolutely nothing. So I can see why he keeps getting away with it. You know, if he keeps delivering, he will get away with it, unfortunately. And I think the problem is that the board have accepted that we're not going to win a Premier League title. We're not going to win a Champions League. So in their opinion, you know, the FA Cup and the Europa League are tournaments that we can win. And so if we're achieving that, then you know what, we're performing to our maximum ability.
Yeah, and it's a great. I've got a Spurs mate that says the same sort of thing, and he says to me like, "Well, you know, like you keep winning trophies, you know what I mean? Surely Wenger's got to say." I know he's sort of saying it in a you know, to wind me up and everything like that. My argument is, you know, and there's been debates about it, you know, 4 trophies or 3 trophies in 4 years. It could be another trophy. Other clubs around would love to be in our position, but my argument to it is that, you know, Spurs at this moment play, you know, like £40 for a ticket for their ground. We're paying 90.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and that's fine. But we've been doing that for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like with the promise that we would be, you know, looking to challenge for things. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, and without, well, how can I put it? The way I see it is that when I first started supporting Arsenal back in the late middle 70s, late 70s, like 1970s, I never ever dreamt that Arsenal would win a title, Harry. Never looked like winning a title, you know what I mean? But at the end of it, I always thought that we had a good chance of winning the FA Cup like we have now, like the same sort of scenario. But when I went to Arsenal, I was paying £3.50 or £4, £5, whatever it was to get into the game. If I went to Tottenham down the road, I'd pay £4.50, £5, the same sort of price. You know what I mean? So the expectations were the same. But now Arsenal are demanding so much more from an Arsenal fan, but then we can't demand the same, if you know what I mean. And that's where it started to get fragile between the fans and all that. Like, you know, even now there's still arguments between fans coming out of, you know, when you have a 4-1 win, people are turning around and saying, like, oh, you know, you should be happy because you won 4-1. You know what I mean? But there's people that when you've won 4-1, they're looking for, you know, like we have today. We know we're only dissecting the game, but look at our defence, it ain't good enough. Yeah. So did you see what I'm saying? So until we sort that out, and I'm not saying it's to do with Arsene Wenger or whatever, until we sort that out, we're going to have this fraction in our fan base.
Yeah, completely agree. I think, like what you said, we were talking about the defence, and I think there's a difference though between looking at something and pointing it out, calling it out, as opposed to complaining about it. And I think what I was saying was that I identified it as an issue. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it because we won the game, but it shouldn't go unnoticed, because at the end of the day, in football, you always want to improve, don't you? You want to play to your maximum.
Yeah, of course, yeah, exactly.
I think there has been this disconnect with the supporters, particularly over ticket prices. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Spurs made an announcement regarding their season ticket prices, and they've gone up too.
Oh yeah, they're not happy. They're not happy.
They're not. And I think what happens is, you know, football is becoming more and more corporate, and in order to have a stadium and maintain a stadium with a capacity of say 60,000, you're going to have to start doing it somewhere. You know, somehow you're going to have to start regenerating that money. And the way the game is going, you know, me or you might sit here and say, you know what, it's really expensive and so on. But there's a bunch of tourists that would snap up those tickets in 5 minutes. And I think
exactly
it's the way that the game is going. They look at it as a business, club owners, and you know what, at the end of the day, for them it is, because let's be realistic. Stan Kroenke isn't an Arsenal supporter, is he? Stan Kroenke is concerned about his balance sheet, and I guess, you know, that's the way the modern game's heading. I think at every big ground now, with maybe the exception of Anfield, where we saw the other night, the atmosphere was spectacular. But I don't think you get those atmospheres in football anymore.
No, I totally agree. You know, I totally agree. Old Trafford's the same, you know what I mean, as the Emirates at the moment. I think we get a raw deal with everybody, you know, sort of getting on the bandwagon with Arsenal, if I'll be honest.
That's right.
And having a little go at Arsenal about that, like, you know, and I think that's a little bit unfair. But what the other question I was going to say was, you know, just going into the FA Cup and the Champions League, the Europa League again, like, you know, like in the FA Cup at the moment, you've got to win the FA Cup now. If you're Tottenham or you're Man United, you've got to go past Tottenham, probably Chelsea, which is going to be very, very difficult. We've only got really, I would say, one real tough team to navigate past, if I'll be honest, you know what I mean? And what I'm saying, a real top team, and that would be Atletico Madrid. Now, yeah. When the draw, if we do get through, and this hope we do, it looks like that Madrid are going to be going through with a 2-0 win yesterday. Are you going to be like Tottenham, Chelsea, and Manchester United, hoping that you're going to get Southampton ball come out, or are we just going to be sitting like, if we get Madrid, let's so be it, or are we going to hoping that we just avoid them?
This is something I was talking about on the way home last night, actually. I think I would prefer to get them in the final, because I think in a one-off game, anything can happen. I watch quite a bit of European football, and I know that Atletico Madrid are a much stronger team than us. I think they've got a better tactician in their dugout than we do. And I think if you give, Arsene Wenger 2 legs against Diego Simeone, I think he will come unstuck. Whereas in a one-off game, you never know what will happen. I think when you're the weaker side, which we are, you always prefer to play a one-off game than play 2 legs. So, I don't know. That's my take on it. I'd rather avoid them. Let's go to Lyon. Let's have a night out. Let's enjoy ourselves. And what will be, I guess.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I just feel that exactly what you just said there. I feel that we've got a better chance if over 1 game against them than over 2. I'll be honest. I just think that we will concede at home against them. Will we score against them away? I'm a little bit more worried about, So, but listen, it's exciting at the moment. It is something to look forward to. We've got Southampton, of course, on Sunday. And an interesting point was made yesterday, about the goalkeeping situation. All of a sudden, Petr Cech's in goal now. Do you think are coming back in on Sunday, or is Cech just covering because there was something wrong there, or what's your take on that, on the goalkeeping situation? Strange that was yesterday.
It is strange, but I think Ospina will likely come back in the second leg in Moscow because he has been the Europa keeper. I don't see Wenger changing that unless he has to. There's talk of Ospina being injured. I'm not quite sure what's going on there because I've read conflicting things. I've read that he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. I've read that was only out last night. So I'll be honest, I'm not actually sure what's going on there. But I think Wenger will try and stick to his guns as much as possible. Cech is his Premier League keeper, Ospina is his European keeper, and I think he will try and stay with that as much as he possibly can, unless he's obviously enforced to change it through injuries.
So it does seem a bit strange to me. I think Chambers are coming on Sunday. I think that perhaps in place of Koscielny, giving him a little bit of a break there. What changes do you see for Sunday?
For Sunday,
let's see. Right, we've put our teams out now, and we'll see how close we are on Sunday. Other listeners can do it as well if they want. Write down their team, and then see how close they're going to be. So, do you want me to go first, or should you go first?
Go for it, mate. Go for it.
So I'm gonna go with. I've got a little feeling that he may go with. Is it Macy, the third choice goalkeeper? So I'm going to go there. I think you're right. I think that Ospina may be injured, so I'm going to go that one there. I think that Chambers will definitely come in at central defender, but I'm going to have a little thing and say that Holding will come in as well, and Mustafi's going to go to right back.
Okay.
All right, Kolasinac at left back. All right. Do you know, I think that Maitland-Niles might get a little run out in midfield for this one, so I'm going to go with him. So I think it's going to be the wholesale changes.
Wholesale changes, yeah. I was just going to say.
I do think that Aaron Ramsey will play because I think that he's in form. I think that you've got to continue with him. Mesut Ozil will play as well. I think that so them two in there with also El Neni are coming. I forgot about El Neni are coming, and I think that Iwobi will play as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if and obviously Aubameyang, Pierre I call him, will play up front there. So that's my 11.
Mkhitaryan's out as well. So.
Yeah, Mkhitaryan's going to be out. Interested to see whether he gives Danny Welbeck another little run though.
Yeah, I think he'll have to. I think he's going to go. My team will be. I think he's going to stay with Cech in goal.
Yeah,
I think he's going to go Bellerin, Mustafi, Chambers, Monreal. I think the midfield will be El Neni, Xhaka, Ramsey, and then he'll go Welbeck, Iwobi, Aubameyang. I think.
Yeah, so we'll see who's the coach. I've gone a little bit. I just think that it's a good opportunity. If I was like the manager's head on, I just feel it's a good opportunity to give rest a few players, but also to give a couple of players a good chance of playing. I would like to see Maitland-Niles have a game in his proper position in the Premier League. So it's probably my heart rule in my head, if you like. I'd just like to see what he could do in that role there. Like, you know, I was quite impressed with El Neni the other day. You know what I mean? If I'll be honest, I think he's done okay. He gets a little bit of a bad press, but you know, he was left out yesterday because we went with the guys like Wilshere, Ramsey, and Xhaka. And if you be honest, Harry, you couldn't argue with it, could you? You can't argue with him being left out. But I think he's, you know, does a good job for us, El Neni, and I think he gets a little bit of a raw deal.
No, yeah, completely agree. And I think in the past we've spoken about his price tag, and I think that influences people's mindsets, whether people want to admit to that or not. It is a thing. You know, you look at a player, if he's only cost £7 million, your expectations of him are low, and therefore, you know, you find it difficult to compare him to some of the bigger sort of stars in terms of price. I think that El Neni's done well every time he's been asked to play, to be honest. He very rarely lets you down. I think, yeah, like you said, you can't argue with him being left out last night. But you know what? In the Premier League now, why not give him a run? We know there's question marks over Jack Wilshere's fitness. We know there's question marks over Aaron Ramsey. He seems to constantly pick up hamstring injuries. So I'm not saying to drop Ramsey this weekend, but, you know, knowing El Neni is there is a big boost, and you know that you can call on him when needed. I would like to see maybe someone like Reece Nelson get a shot.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't play him in a dead rubber Premier League game when we've realistically got nothing to play for, when can you? You know, it's that surprises me a little bit. I don't know if there's a little bit more to that one. Perhaps.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's a good shout. I'd like to see him get a little bit of a bit more game time, if I'll be honest. And a lot of people have been saying on Twitter, and actually somebody said to me yesterday, "Oh, you avoided it by not mentioning how poor Jack Wilshere was yesterday." Now, the reason I never mentioned that Jack didn't have one of his better games yesterday, because I felt that it was a positive performance. It was a positive game, so you don't want to start people going on negative and everything like that. But the question I'm going to ask you: do you think the contract talks are like, I would say, like, affecting him, or is it just because it's getting to the latter part of the season now, and maybe he's getting a little bit leg weary?
I think the contract thing must have some impact. I mean, the other day he was captain, wasn't he, at the weekend, last weekend?
Yeah, captain.
And I find it unbelievable that a manager can make someone captain, someone who's yet to commit their long-term future to the club. I find that astounding. You know, the only explanation is that Wenger's not actually that bothered who the captain is, because if a player is in and ahhing about committing his future to the club, and whether that's the club's fault or his, we don't actually know. But I just think the contract thing must have an impact. I think Jack Wilshere looked a bit tired yesterday. And I think, you know, Jack Wilshere is not capable of playing more than a game a week, in my opinion. And, you know, as much as I'd love to see him stay and I'd love to see him go on and be a future Arsenal captain, I'm concerned that he may be on his way out. The fact that the deal hasn't been done yet concerns me. And you know what? I put a poll out today, actually, on the Chronicles of a Gooner, asking if we was only to keep one of Wilshere or Ramsey, who would you prefer? And I think 80% of the 500 or so that voted Aaron Ramsey. And I think there's a general feeling now that Aaron Ramsey is irreplaceable and Jack Wilshere maybe isn't, because, you know, his performances are inconsistent, and it's that big question mark over his fitness, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? I totally agree. I think that with Aaron Ramsey, the only thing that I'm a big Aaron Ramsey fan, as you know, but the one frustration with Ramsey is that he goes 2 or 3 games, gets into peak condition, like he is at this moment in time, scoring goals and playing well, and then he breaks down again. And that's you know, if he can stay fit, you know, he's a player that I think that a lot of teams would go for. I could see him, you know, being definitely chased by Chelsea and Manchester United in the summer because of what he brings to the team. And I think that we need to get him signed up ASAP, if I'll be honest. And somebody said yesterday that he deserves to be on sort of similar wages to Mesut Ozil. And I'm not saying that he probably should be on that sort of way, but he's there. He's very, very important to Arsenal at this moment in time. And I just feel that with Jack, if I'll be honest, I think that he's just getting a little bit leg weary. I watched it. I'm with you on it yesterday, Harry. I felt that he struggled to keep up with the pace of the game yesterday. And if I'm be honest, I felt that he was just a little bit off the pace. And I think that he probably would need a little bit of a break, maybe on Sunday, and we'll have to wait and see. But I just feel that, you know, I don't want to see him peter out in the season, if you know what I mean. Like, he's had a good season, I think, this season. I think people have, I'm one that will a lot of admiration for him, because I felt last season I'd written him off. I didn't think he'd come back as well as he has done. But I just feel that, you know, he's got to be managed properly in these last few months, and that's what worries me about Jack Wilshere a little bit, like, you know.
Yeah.
I was just going to change it a little bit, like, I know, because I didn't mention it yesterday on my interview and all that, and I felt a little bit bad about it. Was the passing of Ray Wilkins this week, and I'm going to say, you know, I mean, it hit me as a football fan. I was, you know, choked about what, you know, that he's passed away, and I just want to talk about it really, because if you look at Ray Wilkins, he's played with two of the teams that are big rivals for Arsenal, in Chelsea and Manchester United. But I felt I really did warm to him. I like him as he's certainly as a pundit. You know, whenever he spoke, I always admired what he said, and I thought he was a fantastic pundit. When he was on Sky Sports or on that, I always used to really, one of the guys that I really listened to a lot, like, you know. And what's your thoughts on that? But you'd be a bit younger to remember him as a player, Harry, but, like, you know, the pundit side of it, things and all that.
Yeah, you're correct. I don't remember Ray Wilkins, the player. I'd be lying if I said I did. But yeah, I totally agree. He seemed like a genuinely nice guy, a real football man. I think we've heard so many kind words from different people about him and the impact he's had on their careers and stuff. A fantastic player, from what I've heard, a fantastic pundit, fantastic man. And it did hit me as well when I heard about it. And that's odd, because for someone who doesn't remember him playing, it's odd that I would have that sort of feel that connection to someone like that. But I think I'm a football fan, and I connect with anyone who genuinely loves the game. I think what you said about him playing for rivals is a valid point. I think at the time, at the heat of the moment, you feel sort of aggressive sometimes, even, I don't know, to rival players. But then when they do retire, that kind of softens. And the best example I can give of that is someone like David Beckham, who I absolutely despised when he played for Manchester United. Yeah. And then when he left, I started to think, you know what? He was a fantastic player. He seems like a fantastic guy. And I've got plenty of admiration for him now. So I think that softens. But going back to Ray Wilkins, I think it is sad to hear of someone passing at such a young age is always upsetting, and like to send my condolences out to his family and friends.
Family, everything that, you know. And the one thing that I've always I ain't a great lover of Talk Sport for obvious reasons, you know what I mean, because what they do at Arsenal. But when they used to, like Alan Brazil said, "Oh, Ray Wilkins was on," I always made the point of listening to him, and I think he was on last Tuesday. I think it was, when normally in Ray Parler's spot, because Ray was out in Egypt, and you're just listening to him. He's very, very knowledgeable of the game, and I think that, you know, his punditry was undervalued. I really do. I feel underestimated. I think he was really up there with the top pundits, and his views and the way he spoke and all that was fantastic. And I thought I just had to mention that, like, you know. And it was a sad day for football that we lost, you know, a real gentleman of the game. So I felt that I needed to say that, like, you know. And I always say, like, you know, that people like that, if you can, you know, like, I never looked at him and thought, like, you know, he'd won trophies for Chelsea, and, you know, and so I've got a lot of admiration for the way he went about things, like, you know. So, you know, a very, very sad day for football, and I think that we'll all have some good memories of him. I certainly did as a player. Got a great goal once Man United against Brighton. I was desperate for Brighton to win it back in '83, like, and he came up with an absolute perler, like, you know. And yeah, so that's you know, a sad thing, and you know, condolences to his family and friends and everybody connected with football.
Yeah, totally agree.
So that we've gone for 45 minutes. You think we should wrap it up there? And we've had not for my hosting is not. Hopefully, hasn't been too bad. Listen, I'm going to say this about Craig. I know that Craig's not well, but I think, you know, and I always do pick him up on it. I think that what makes the show is his hosting. He's absolutely superb at it, and just doing it today, you realise, as you will know as well, Harry, it's not easy, is it? It's not an easy job.
No, it's not. It's not. And to do it at such short notice as well, I take my hat off to you, because
well, like, you know, I've tried my best. You know, like when I listen to Craig, you know, he's very, very good. And like listening to when I was on holiday last week, you guys, well, great show that was, by the way, and listening to it by the pool, you know, he does bring a bit of chemistry to the world of presenting. So he's been sadly missed today, but hopefully I haven't let everybody down and done okay, like, you know what I mean. So Harry, I've got to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I'll tell you, one of the most sensiblest people on here. Like, you know, we have a few crazy people on here, but you know, your thoughts and things about the Arsenal are always a pleasure to listen to.
Thank you very much.
Quick little prediction, because probably won't talk to you before Sunday. Scoreline for Sunday, and I'm going to say, like, you've got to go for a goal scorer.
I've got to go for a goal scorer as well. Right.
Don't forget, put 10p in the meter after this, like, you know, with the lights.
Do you know what it is? The light switch is on the other side of the room, and for me to get up now, I have to unplug my headphones.
I've got a pool cue here. You can borrow that, like, you know, just
yeah, I might need it. My prediction: I'm gonna go for Arsenal 3, Southampton 0, and I'm gonna throw my hat out there, and I'm gonna say Mohamed El Neni's gonna score.
Whoa, blimey! Like,
I've seen a vision. I've seen a vision.
Seen a vision. Well, I'm gonna play safe, and I think we'll win 2-0, and Pierre will get one of the goals, like, you know, laid on by the one and only Mesut Ozil. So that's what I think it'll be, like, you know.
Good stuff. Good
Great.
stuff.
Harry, thanks for coming on and sorting this out today. Sorry for everybody that Craig's not on today, and of course Troopz. I know probably people were tuning in to listen to Troopz. You know, he's a lovely, lovely fella, but unfortunately, family commitments have meant that he can't be here. But he has assured us that he will come on at a later date. So Harry, thanks for everything today. Up the Arsenal, and let's hope for another 3 points on Sunday.
Come on, you Gunners.
Cheers, guys.
Lovely.